Hey guys, how are you? Hope you're having a fantastic day. Your old buddy Tim out doing a little casual ride and rant. It is a Sunday. I am out putting out signs on new listings. Picked up 3 new ones last week, so business is good. What I want to talk about today on the ride and rant, I want to talk to you millennials out there, you young people, you youngsters, you whippersnappers. You young people who are probably in your early 20s, maybe mid 20s, you are just now getting perhaps out of college, you are starting your job, and a question that I'm getting quite a bit from young folks, yes, they do talk to me, they call me sir. It's amazing when you get to a certain age where young people call you sir or old fart. Either one is, I'm going to take it as a sign of respect. Anyway, one of the questions that I do get quite a bit from young folks is, Mr. Knox, when should I start thinking about buying my first house? Really a great question. Really a great question, because I have a daughter, Sierra, who is in that age range. Now, Sierra is around 22. She is working on her master's, already has a full-time job, and she's still living at home. And this is the first advice I give to millennials who ask me about buying a home. If you can, and I'm going to probably tick off some parents, if it's feasible for you to live at home for a while socking away money for a down payment, that's what I advise doing. Now, don't be a freeloader. Don't be a bum. Don't have a full-time job and you're not kicking in anything at home. My goodness, help with the groceries, pay for your room maybe, but as long as you can live at home and not pay a very large rent or a house payment, you should do so, because when it comes time to buying a house, you're going to need a considerable sum to put down. Could be up to 20%. And if you're buying a $200,000 house, that's about 20 grand at least that you're going to come out of pocket. So my first advice is, if you can, if your parents are amiable, live at home as long as you can, save that money for a down payment. Now, if that's not a possibility, or you've lived at home and now you're ready to go out, my next piece of advice is, do not buy more home than you need. And by that I mean this. Your first home is typically referred to as a starter home, because that's just where you're starting home ownership. You're going to buy probably a small house, probably close to mom and dad. It's a starter home. Odds are you are not going to live there long. Don't jump out of college with, $100,000 in debt, making $30,000 a year, and think you're going to get a $300,000 home. Doesn't work that way. Now, you can buy a home if you've got school debt. There are programs that can help you do that, and I'd be happy to point you in a direction. But for now, think like an adult, because you claim to be one now. And an adult would logically look at how much house they can afford, and that's what they would buy. The first home would be a starter home, keeping in mind you're probably not going to be there forever, and things change. At some point you might meet Mr. or Mrs. Right, you might get married, you might want to start a family, and that little starter home is not going to work. So then you look at something else. When Melissa and I got married, Melissa had just a dinky little house. I think it was less than 800 square feet, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. And it was just right for us. It was our little love nest, and I'm sure maybe someday we'll get back to something like that. But it was a great starter home, and we moved from that little 2-bedroom, 1 bath bungalow into a 3-bedroom, 2 bath, and then into a 4-bedroom, 2 bath, and then on and on and on. We've owned a lot of houses since we've been married. So keep that in mind. It's going to be a starter home. It's not going to be the Taj Mahal. The biggest tip I can give you is, again, don't buy more house than you can afford. You might, and I preach about this all the time, you might qualify for a couple of $100,000, but you could really only afford something in maybe the 150 range. And so that's the best advice I could give you, is do not buy more house than you can afford. Now, I understand you're just starting your career. Your salary might not be that great. In 5 years, it might be a whole totally different story. You might be making 120 grand and you can afford a much nicer house. Well, then you move out of the starter home into, your middle home, if you will, or maybe the home that you're going to be in forever. So right out of the gate, millennials, that is my advice to you. Save up as much as you can for a down payment. Live with mom and dad, whatever. When you do decide to jump out there, just keep in mind you're buying your starter home, your first home, so it's probably going to be small. It might be older. It can still be in good shape. You can go in and you can paint it and make it really cool. And don't buy more house than you need or more house than you can afford. Now, one more piece of advice. A lot of young people will come out of school and immediately rack up the debt. I've got to have a brand new car. I've got to have this. I've got to have that. They're keeping up with their broke friends. And if you're not careful, what you can do is you can hose your credit. I see so many people doing this, young people especially. They'll get credit cards, or they'll come out with a ton of school debt, or they'll buy a car. Credit is so easy to get. That's why so many people are in trouble when it comes to credit. So that's my best advice to you is don't jump out there, get a bunch of credit, get deep in debt, and then try to buy a home, because it's just going to be very difficult for you. All right. Hey, if I can do anything for you when it comes to real estate, regardless of how young or old you are, I'd be more than happy to chat with you. My name is Tim. My number is 679-0704. You can find me on the web. Revolved Realty, or actually revolved.com is our brand new website. You need to go check that out, because there's so many cool things over there. There's, you can get a free home valuation. You can check out the entire team. You can read about how we do things. There are free ebooks you can download. That's at revolved.com. Email me, tim@revolve.com. So, all right, little millennials, you young whippersnappers, you snot-nosed little consumers, you. Hey, if I can help you, give me a call. Be happy to talk. Yes, I do know how to use a smartphone.